Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Don Mafia Report, live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST, 9 a.m. Central for your boy. For some reason, I've been in Central Time for close to 3 years now, and it's still not registering the difference. However, I'm very excited about today's show because there are a couple of different topics that I would like to discuss with all of my friends on the internet. Number one, obviously, the title card of, or the main card of this episode being um, safety, right? Many of you, I do want to come out and say this specifically. I stand by my initial take that I've had for the past year. I'm not going to lose sleep over having a below average safety room. I'm not, right? Like, what is important to me is pass rush. I don't care how elite your secondary is. If, for example, you were experiencing a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 15, and the quarterback has more than 5 to 6 seconds to find an open man, it's going to happen. I could care less if you were going up against the elite of the elite secondary. It's just how it is. But it's still a topic that we need to discuss because many of us are not really keen to the idea of putting Damar Hamlin into the equation or asking him to be for the second year in a row, the starting safety next to Taylor Rapp. Several of us are not sold on Cole Bishop. Some of us are optimistic in Jordan Hancock, and others are even going out and suggesting, Dan, we need to go out and see if Justin Simmons would be interested in coming in on a team-friendly one-year type deal. So that's going to be something I'm very excited to chop up with you this morning. I also wanted to react a little bit to Hard Knocks last evening. Normally, I do a little short video right after each and every single episode. I was a bit tired last night, so I ended up calling it an evening early. And then also some rumors that we are potentially hearing that perhaps the Buffalo Bills may want to make a trade for a wide receiver. That's at least what a couple of beat reporters are suggesting, not to count the Buffalo Bills out for making a trade, adding to our team. Whether or not that's a safety, whether or not that's a wide receiver, who knows? But damn, a lot of topics regardless. I ask everybody as you are filing into the show, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign. It is the easiest way to show love over here on the channel. And also, roll call in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. What corner of the continental United States are you tapping in from? What corner of the globe, man? I'm always interested to see who has the most unique area in which people are tuning in. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Wednesday, August 20th. Let's get into the chat and see exactly what everybody has on their mind, man. Robert A. Wilson has come in. McDermott is the biggest question about the Bills' defense. McDermott lacks defensive wisdom. So I got to tell you, I think that Sean McDermott, for the last 2 years at least, has grown significantly. I think that he's recognized some of his past sins. But when I look back on Sean McDermott's career, I think the last big loss that I could exclusively put on the coaching staff would have been the 13 seconds game. I'm still mad about that, as many of you probably are. That was just an absolute gaffe, a terrible play call. Past couple of years, I think that you would probably, I feel like you should probably blame more so personnel than overall execution. I don't care how good of a defensive coordinator you are, but when you are rolling out some piss poor second or third stringers in particular key game situations, sometimes you are only as good as your equipment, right? So it's tough for me because Sean McDermott specifically, he's very good at being able to get the most out of players, specifically in the secondary and linebacker side of things, right? Like we're seeing players like Dane Jackson when his number was called to be a CB2 when we had to have an answer for some of that. Like he was actually pretty serviceable. We've seen crazy jumps from Terrell Bernard. We saw crazy jumps from Matt Milano when he was also implemented into this defense. Like there are just so many mid-round picks that have a crazy ass development with each and every single season. So It's not so much McDermott anymore. I do think he's learned from his mistakes. Last year, I love the fact that Sean McDermott ended up bringing in a former referee to sort of advise him on when to challenge plays, right? Like last year, we don't really remember a lot of head scratching. McDermott, why the hell are you challenging that? Or why the hell did you not challenge that? So he's outsourced that. He's recognizing some of his weaknesses and he's making those adjustments. It's really all about personnel right now, right? So hopefully that continues, and then hopefully so the depth and the personnel side of things has been at least improved in the slightest. Watching from Surprise, Arizona. Now hit that like button for Dan. Thank you so much, man. We have Oklahoma is in the building. Defiance, Iowa is, Defiance, Ohio is in the building. Bowling Green, Kentucky is in the building. Good Wednesday, San Antonio, Filthy Dollar Bills. What is going on? ATL is in the building. Can't wait for the Bills to come down against or to throw down on the Falcons. Man, I'm telling you what, I'm actually considering making it down to Atlanta this year for the game. It's not too far away from me. We have Cambridge, England is in the building. It's Squeezy. Hope all is well. We have Louis Lorenzen, Define, Ohio. Susan from Chicago. Susan, I hope you were enjoying your Wednesday morning. And hey, let me see. Work lurking from the delivery van, currently in Perrysville, New York. My guy, Big Daddy D, man, always using me as a radio station to react to. If McDermott's defense is so complicated and advanced, that you G talent have a PhD to understand it, it's time to simplify it. This defense racks up stats on bad quarterbacks and good QBs. Eat it alive. So I suppose that's a take. And so it's an interesting take. So there's one thing that upsets me about this defense, and I'm not so sure if I would put it entirely on McDermott. Maybe it has a little bit to do with personnel. Maybe it has a little bit to do with coaching. Or maybe he needs to implement this sort of defense based off of the personnel that he has, right? What's frustrating about this team is that we have really adopted the moniker of bend but not break. And I hate that. I hate when somebody says, oh my God, we're a bend but not break defense. I genuinely believe that no NFL team on the face of the planet has ever had that strategy. It is a losing strategy. Like, you do not want that from your defense. Because number one, like, you can't have them gassed by the second or the third quarter. Like, there is no excuse for us to play soft, raggedy zone all the time. Like, sometimes, like, you need to be able to have a couple of stops. And look, I totally get it, because like when it comes into football, it's very difficult to like have a perfect game plan going in to each and every single game. A lot of the times you'll see this from offense and you'll see this from the defense as well, where there's a time for information gathering. Like, you can game plan all you want leading up into the game, but at the end of the day, you don't know precisely what the play calling strategy is going to be from your opponent. So a lot of the times you'll see a defense and or an offense look relatively vanilla for the first series, especially the Buffalo Bills, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out what is the theme of our opponent's play calling this game by itself. And Buffalo is really, and so the Bills have really been married to that concept. It's true, right? Like, how many times last season so did we watch the opposing offense march down the field with ease right during the first possession, right? It's typically on purpose. Because I suppose it's more so of what pitches do they have right in their arsenal. And we typically gave Sean McDermott quite a bit of flowers last season when we said, oh my God, yeah, like we have some crazy second half jumps or some second half adjustments. Like, many times, like, we're watching and we're saying things like that, like, oh my God, dude, Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbitt really know how to adjust. Like, that's really all it is. Sean, for me, again, has improved, especially from 13 seconds. It's more so personnel. And simplifying, it is what it is, right? And you look back at some of the losses that we've had in the past like right within our secondary, right? Like you could almost always point it to a specific position group. And when you look at that position group, like you look at who was playing during that game, 2 playoff games ago, or like 2 playoff exits ago, we saw our linebackers get absolutely dismantled. You had Travis Kelce being covered by A.J. Klein, and that was because Bernard was out. Same thing with Milano. I want to say Benford was out that game as well. And that's where Patrick Mahomes' targets went all game. And that's why, especially with Travis Kelce, went off. And why wouldn't you? Like, why would we blame Patrick Mahomes for not picking on a guy that was on the couch for 3/4 of the season? It's how it is. It's part of the game. Like, you need to be able to exploit weaknesses. Last year, the second that Christian Benford went down, who was targeted all the time? That next man up in Kyer Elam. So, can we stay healthy? Can we stay healthy this year, folks? When it matters most? I think that's the question. We have Jeffries coming in. Solution: sign Justin Simmons to a 1-year deal, second string Hamlin, third string Bishop, sign a safety in the offseason, or draft a high prospect. Linebacker and offensive line will be a concern next year as well. A lot to unpack there. And you know what? I think that it's a pretty good time to transition over into the main topic of the day. And I would like to take a look at this, because who in the hell is going to be our safety running with Taylor Rapp? I think that's a question a lot of us have been pondering for quite some time, especially with the slow start that we have seen in training camp already. And I'm not sure if y'all were tapped in on Sean McDermott's press conference yesterday. Yesterday, Sean McDermott's press conference really was telling when he was discussing, yes, I'm not too pleased with Cole Bishop right now. And it's not his fault. Like, Cole doesn't want to be injured. Cole does not want to be missing these valuable reps in training camp or missing these preseason reps. But you can tell, folks, based off of how Cole looked out there this previous Sunday evening, like he looked like he was lost, dude. Like he looked like that he was absolutely lost, especially in coverage. But then again, I try to be empathetic to his case, because Cole Bishop is not a coverage safety. He wasn't a coverage safety in college. I think we're all kind of hoping that he can turn into a coverage safety, I guess. Cole Bishop was drafted to eventually be what Taylor Rapp is. And no disrespect to Taylor Rapp, because he is slept on in coverage. He led the team in interceptions last year. So it's hard for me so to say that, like, I'm trying to plan an exit for Taylor Rapp. I just wish that fool would stay healthy. But Cole was never known for his coverage. Cole was known exactly for what he does do well. And what Cole does do well is, like, he's a great downhill type of guy. He's much more effective in the box. He's much more effective, especially against the run. Sometimes he's a bit too over aggressive and he takes terrible angles and he misses his tackles, but coverage for Cole Bishop has never really been his strength, right? Hamlin is kind of the same, right? Like, he's never really been a coverage guy. He's never really been somebody that excels in that matter. He's quality in tackling until at least 2 years ago. He took a step back last year when it came into tackling. And don't look at that one play that we saw Sunday night, because that's not doing me any favors of trying to convince you. But this is how we look at it, right? Where the depth chart is currently standing, you have Taylor Rapp and you have Cole Bishop as starting strong safety and free safety, which is crazy. Cole is still above Damar Hamlin. And again, this is not an official depth chart. This is something that the media team is putting together. This is something from the organization. We haven't heard this from the coach yet. And funny enough, you do see Cam Lewis as strong safety, who is next up with Rapp. And then Hamlin is next up to Cole Bishop. And then you have Derek Forrest, you have Wande Owens. Ironically enough, when you look into slot corner, like, you can end up looking at with the Jordan Hancock, which is crazy because I'm trying to see where he's listed here. You have Taylor Rapp, Cam Lewis, Derek Forrest. I don't even see Jordan Hancock's name on here anymore, which is crazy. Maybe I just haven't seen it. But okay, here he is. Yeah. Okay, never mind. He's second in the depth chart to Taron Johnson for slot corner. Here's my thing. Like, there are so many different options of what Buffalo could do with this. So many different options. Some you're going to love, some you're going to hate. Starting off and ripping the Band-Aid off first. The first possibility, and unfortunately something that I think is going to happen. I am by no means putting the stamp of Dan Mitchell approval on this move at all. Don't get it twisted. I have a really good feeling that when it comes into week 1 versus Baltimore, we are going to be seeing Damar Hamlin lined up with Taylor Rapp right on week 1. Okay? Again, that does not get the Dan Mitchell stamp of approval. But based off of the trends and based off of what we've heard Sean McDermott say about Cole Bishop and him missing a considerable amount of reps now for the first 2 years, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So now I'm just ripping the Band-Aid off so we can just mentally prepare ourselves. Now, thankfully, and hopefully Rapp will be healthy because Rapp can cover a lot of ground. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. He does not. And when he is out on the field, he is a threat. And typically, he can make up for having below average assistance right at the free safety position. So that's option number 1, and in my opinion, most likely. Next up, a secondary option is Cam Lewis. Cam Lewis could potentially be the guy. He's a vet within this roster, somebody that Sean McDermott does like quite a bit. He's had a pretty quality camp. He has experience at the safety position. He's basically a Jordan Hancock, right? He has experience in the slot. He has experience as a safety. I would feel more comfortable, surprisingly enough, with Cam Lewis over Damar Hamlin. I would. And I would feel more comfortable with Cam Lewis right over Cole Bishop as well, just based off of it, right? Is he the best? Is he a starter? No. But do I think he's a better option? 110% I do. 0 questions asked. It's just how it is. So that's option number 2. 3 is Cole Bishop, right? Like, say, for example, that we just want to throw him in with the Wolves and just let him get his reps during actual meaningful games. And I got to tell you, once the Baltimore game is over with, surprisingly enough, I think that you could convince me that I'm okay with forcing Cole Bishop to be out there and get his live reps for the remainder of the schedule. Because once that Ravens game is over, folks, I mean, come on. We have the Jets. Okay. We have the Dolphins. Okay. Saints. Okay. I'm okay with us throwing him into the Wolves with a schedule like that. Sure, his feet are going to be put to the fire, especially with the Baltimore Ravens, but how often do we expect Lamar to really stretch the field deep downfield? Like, how many deep passes do we expect Lamar to throw right on week 1? Right? Like 3, maybe? Like 2 or 3? It's largely, in my opinion, going to be very much of a ground and pound type game. Like, I can tell you that Derrick Henry is probably going to get a lot of touches on week 1. So maybe it would benefit us to have Cole Bishop out there because that's exactly what he is. He's a dude that is quality against the run. Like, that much I think that we can give him. And same thing with Taylor Rapp for coverage possibilities. So I suppose it's okay. It's not like we have a gauntlet right at the beginning of the season and we need to come out victorious. Like, I'm genuinely looking at our schedule, and depending on whether or not that we get by the Ravens, I really think it is a toss-up. I think it's going to be a very close game. Folks, we have a cakewalk, an absolute cakewalk. The next challenge that I genuinely believe Buffalo is going to have, like right after this Ravens game, is Kansas City. And so a lot of people are high on the Falcons maybe beating us in Atlanta. Not so much myself. And so I think that we're actually really well matched up with that as well. So sometimes I think you just have to put Cole Bishop out there. Just throw him in with the Wolves. It's my favorite option, as many of you guys know, is to crown Jordan Hancock I would love that, man. I would love that. Right now, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. Still waiting on the specifics of what it is. It sounds like McDermott says he's not playing this Saturday during the final preseason game, and so against Tampa Bay. But so I do think that he does like have the most upside. And so I would love that. But like, would Sean McDermott trust him, right? Like, he's definitely had his reps. I think that he's proven himself in the first 2 games that like he does deserve to have his number called. You throw him out with the Wolves. It's not like we have a very difficult schedule once the Ravens game is over with. So I think that that could be an option. And then last but not least, we have one more. We have another one that quite a few people are really trying to hop on with. A lot of people really want to see if this is a possibility. And that is going with a guy like Justin Simmons, right? Can we go for a free safety like Simmons, who is actually, he's quality, man. He is a quality type dude. Now, when you ask, it's Justin Simmons. He's about to be 32 years old, by the way. So I'll be completely honest with you. And one thing I always try to like deprogram fans. Sometimes I feel like people hyper obsess over names. And sometimes I think that we like hear a player like Justin Simmons and like we automatically so reflect back on what he was like when he was 26, 27. And maybe he bounced around the league a little bit, but we still have like that mental picture right in our minds of who he used to be when he was in his high 20s. He's 32 years old. Right? I want to say he's the exact same age as Jordan Poyer. Hold on. Okay. Never mind. We have so Poyer's 34 years old. But like he's about to be 32. So would Simmons really be the guy? And here's my question. Why is Justin Simmons still not paid? Why is he still not on a team? Why has nobody brought him in? I think that raises some red flags for me. Now, what is he going to earn? Like, what would a contract look like for him? It's pretty tough. Like right now, I'm looking at 1 year, $7.5 million was last year in 2024. Maybe he does whatever. We'll see. We indeed will see. We have Humble D-Way is coming in. I honestly don't like the idea of Cole Bishop being an option after the Ravens game. Not that it's not going to affect the defense, but we need the number seed this year and shouldn't take a risk. So the number 1 seed for me is very important. It's our best path to the Super Bowl, especially with how we play at home. It's just how it is. What's encouraging and why I say, for example, that Buffalo loses to Baltimore week 1. So am I going to be freaking out and writing off that number 1 seed? No, not at all. Because when I look at all of the other teams that could potentially be going for the 1 seed in the AFC, it's the Chiefs, obviously. It's the Ravens. I suppose you could put the Bengals in there. You look at what divisions and how their schedules stack up against ours. I'm not counting it out at all. Half of the reason why I'm so confident that we have a really good chance of getting the 1. Because when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, for example, so they not only have to play against their entire division. I'm not willing to bet money that they sweep their division. It's super hyper competitive. It's very hyper competitive. So you could probably account for a couple of losses in the division play for Baltimore and really a few division losses for every team in the AFC North. It's just how it is. They beat up on each other. Then they play the NFC North. So they play the Lions. They play the Vikings defense. They play the Chicago Bears, who I'm very high on, as you know. So they play the Green Bay Packers, another very good division. And then you go to the AFC West, where that division has been getting hyper competitive as well. So I could definitely see the Kansas City Chiefs dropping a game or two to some of their divisional rivals between the Chargers and between the Denver Broncos. I want to say I want to say that they play the NFC East as well. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me, but I want to say that the AFC West is also playing the NFC East. So they have the Commanders, they have the Philadelphia Eagles, they have whatnot. And Buffalo, come on. Like we have our division, which I think a lot of us are very confident that we have a really good shot at sweeping said division. If not, maybe a loss. And that loss being on the final game of the season where perhaps we're sitting our starters, who knows? But I'm not sure about you guys. I'm looking at our division right now and I see two teams in a rebuild and I see one team that is dangerously close into blowing everything up and perhaps their head coach is gone by midway through the season. I'm not sweating our division and I'm not sweating our schedule compared to the vast majority of the league. That's just kind of how it works. In today's NFL, the strong and free safety needs to be interchangeable. I agree with you. Simmons says he wants to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course he wants to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Bills are blown out again during the final preseason game, and do you think the odds will be skewed against them for the game with Baltimore and therefore will be a good gambling opportunity? Maybe the books buy into that. I'm not entirely sure why they wouldn't. And you know what? Like people that were still nervous about that preseason performance. One thing that probably should make you feel a bit easier. Last night when I was watching Hard Knocks, when you see Josh Allen joking around quite literally for the entire game on the sideline, not looking phased whatsoever, like at all, that should be enough for you guys to rest your head easy. Say, for example, we saw some players stressing out on the sideline, like starters stressing out on the sideline, then yeah, maybe it's time to start like ringing with the alarm bells. But again, right? Like we're just looking for individual player performances. Like what third string is going to make this team, right? Like what third string is going to make this team? What fourth string is going to make the practice squad? So the fact that we were ultimately seeing our guys sitting on the sideline and just being like super nonchalant and just not caring, feel like that should be something that we should rest easy with. Dan and the Ravens are going to cook the Buffalo Bills if they put Trey White, Hamlin, Bishop, or Lewis on the field. I'd probably give a little bit more credit to Tre'Davious White. He's had a really good camp, and he looked really good. He looked really good in Baltimore last year. Like really good in Baltimore last year. I know that there's a Baltimore Ravens fan in here, and he could probably even attest to it that he looked really well. So I wouldn't particularly say any of that. So I think the Ravens game is going to be high scoring. So I think that now Buffalo is going to be rolling out ideally with a fully healthy offense, which would be ideal, right? But time will tell, folks. Time will tell, man. We're about a little over 2 weeks right before we end up seeing our Buffalo Bills play, right within the week 1 matchup. I hope he gets used to growing as true free safety, considering his body type sways slightly towards coverage. And so I hope he gets used to playing truly a free safety, considering his body type sways slightly towards coverage. I'm assuming you're talking about Jordan Hancock, who I think a lot of us are sincerely rooting for. Trey has legs, but he looks good for sure. He has chicken legs. Hey, listen, no disrespect to people that try to grow their legs, all right? Because I've been trying to grow my legs for quite some time. Still to no avail. Might as well put Bishop out there week 1. He's been hurt, and you only get better with reps. Say that that's the strategy you would like to move forward with, and just put Cole Bishop out there, throw him into the Wolves, and see what was going on. That's just basically what it is. We have Josh will only not look happy when he's losing, and that's literally all. And that's literally the only time. Milano saying 28-0 is crazy tells me more. It's not like a cause for concern, though. It's probably just like one of those statements. It's probably just like one of those one-off statements. And by the way, we did finally hear Matt Milano's voice, which is absolutely crazy. So I played it back a million times. Yes, White was okay, but they better not put him on Zay Flowers or Bateman. Trey don't have that speed like he used to. He was never really that fast. He ran like a 4.4, 4.5 or something like that. With Zay Flowers, I could imagine we'll be having Taron Johnson on, especially if he's playing out of the slot. And then Benford will probably be on Bateman, who I really like that matchup as well. So I really like that matchup. So I think it's going to be a good game. So as far as like how it plays out is that sort of how Buffalo played against Baltimore right in the playoffs last year. That's kind of the defense I think that we should be anticipating, because we should assume that with all of the key contributors are going to be out there, right? Probably wouldn't look at the regular season matchup last year and take anything from that, because that's where we were missing like Bernard. We were missing Benford. We were missing Shakir. So say that you kind of want to get like a good understanding, or say that you want to get a good understanding of like what the matchup is probably going to be like as far as a level of closeness. I'd probably end up looking at both of the rosters from last year. I did also hear that Jair Alexander hasn't practiced since August 9th. He had his knee drained or something like that. He'll probably be ready by week 1, but how much of Jair Alexander will be ready? I think that's my question, right? Is he going to be at 100% Alexander? I feel like that's the question. Maybe he ends up forcing like his way back. Who knows? But we will see. Guys, 176 of you in the chat right now. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign. All right. It is the easiest way to show a little bit of love over here on the channel. Always interested to see what you guys have to say. And we're attempting to do whatever we can to grow a absolute massive live stream, live chat community on the internet. So go on ahead and show a little bit of love, guys. We appreciate you for doing what you do, man. For doing what you do. I did need to give a giant shout out to one of our partners today, and that just so happens to be William Mattar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar. #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would not wish a car accident on anybody, but say that it does happen. It's important to have the right guy in your corner. And if that's the case, look no further than our good friend, William Mattar. Thank you, Will. For being a proud partner of this damn show, brother. We have Emmett is in the building. He's coming in, and the 2024 draft is looking grim. For sure. It's not looking ideal. It's not looking ideal whatsoever. But again, it's still 2 years. And again, something I feel like we all need to acknowledge is that this team always has second-year jumps with each and every single season. So who's the second-year jump, right? Maybe it is Keon Coleman. Maybe we're sitting here talking all this shit about Cole Bishop, and he goes out there and he shows the world. He's like, you know what? Let's figure it out. Okay. So the Jets are among several teams monitoring the trade market for potential wide receiver additions per sources, and the 49ers and Vikings are also making calls. I think that's a pretty solid conversation for those of you that are trying to manifest a trade for Curtis Samuel, for Elijah Moore. Surprisingly enough, a lot of people want to get rid of one or both of those wide receivers, especially since we heard that Gabe Davis was coming in for a visit. I believe it's today or maybe tomorrow, one of the two. Maybe those are potential suitors. Because I can already speak for several of you knowing that you are really, really looking for Shavers to make this roster. I got to tell you, I have a feeling that he makes this roster if and only if we could find a trade partner for either Curtis Samuel / Elijah Moore. So maybe that is a part of the conversation per Diana Rossini. Let's see what we got. We have calling it now, Dan. Jay Palmer and Khalil Shakir, 1,000 yards receiving each. Mac 26, man. He's high. He's high on the wide receiver duo, and Palmer and Khalil Shakir, 1,000 apiece. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. My hot take is that, again, I think that we do not have a wide receiver go for over 1,000 yards. due to how often we spread the football around and how often we run the football. But trust me. And so I would be celebrating equally as loud with you if that was the case. We have Light of Truth. Stevens in the building. Dan, have you heard anything about the Bills considering a trade for Bengals Trey Hendrickson? I saw on two Bills YouTube channels considering an AJ Epinesa and Curtis Samuel plus 5th-round draft pick. So here's how I think it could be challenging for me, right? So we have Trey Hendrickson, and let's go on ahead and pull up his spot track profile here. Okay. So I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to share my screen real fast, and we're going to pull up his market value if, for example, he was traded. He's trying to be one of those guys. He's trying to be one of those guys that is like one of the highest paid defensive ends in all of football, right? Like that's typically how the trend goes. You want to be the next man up, and you want to be the next highest paid defensive end or player at that position. So what would something like that look like? If, for example, Buffalo did want to trade for Trey Hendrickson, number one, he would probably want to make sure that he had a deal immediately, that he was automatically extended. And what would a new deal look like for Trey Hendrickson if the Buffalo Bills wanted to bring him in? Currently, he has a cap hit of $18.6 million, right? And say, for example, he was traded. Savings would be at around $16 million, meaning that Buffalo automatically would add $16 million to the cap. And that's only if we decided not to extend him and give him a new contract. Likely not going to happen. But just so I can peel this back detail by detail, we would need about $16 million in cap hit. And let's say, hey, you know what? We want to make him one of the highest paid defensive ends in all of football, which is probably going to be, I don't know, like $40 million per year. Maybe we can convince him to go down to 35, 33. Who knows? Something like that with 2 or 3 years guaranteed almost immediately. He's about 31, 32 years old. When I look at the Buffalo Bills cap table, let's go ahead and take a look at this bad boy. Since we extended James Cook, where the Buffalo Bills currently stand, we are 32nd in the league for about $1.7 million. That's what we can spend right now. Now, we can still restructure Deion Dawkins, which last time I checked creates about $7.6, $7.5 million almost off the rip. We could restructure Dawson Knox, although I'm not entirely sure Buffalo has much of a plan for his future after this season as well, especially with Jackson Hawes playing relatively well. But that could also create, I want to say, around $4 or $5 million. So if Trey Hendrickson were to be added to this roster and we did ultimately end up giving him a contract and we extended him for the sake of math, like purposes, let's just say that we agree with a $30 million contract in value. That's not the case. He's worth way more than that, but just for the sake of math, $30 million. That's about $10 million per year. And like we say, hey, you know what? Like we are going to fully guarantee the first 3 years, right? It's a completely fully guaranteed contract. And again, I don't think this is going to happen, but just so I can clearly paint out a picture for you. What we would do to attempt to make it cap compliant is that we would end up turning his base salary as low as humanly possible. Like we would probably try to make his base salary 1.1, 2.1, whatever. But then that $30 million guaranteed, we would need to equally split that 3 years through the contract. Maybe we add a void year. Maybe we add a void year to help out. But my purpose here is that whatever this signing bonus would be, that would go against the cap as well with his base. So technically, say that it was, then like we would say, okay, like we need to account $5 million for his signing bonus proration this year, plus his salary, which is at around 1.1. And that would be the cap number. So based off of the potential contract he could bring in for the Buffalo Bills, I think we would be looking at probably around, I don't know, like a $9 to $10 million cap hit this year. And I think that we would need to do quite a few things with some current restructures on the deal for it to make it happen. Like we would need to be jumping through hoops in order for this to happen. It's not impossible. Like we could sign him to a multi-year extension. I mean, let's just say we sign him to a 3-year deal and we could add a couple of void years on the contract. But remember, that needs to be agreed upon with the said player. So I would love the move. Trust me. Like, who is going to say no to a guy that's had 17 and a half sacks back to back? But I just think that we would need to be doing some cap gymnastics in order for it to work. I think that that's kind of where we're at least from that department. Mac 26 is coming in. Dan, honest thoughts on the Cardinals this year. Do they win the NFC West with injuries and losses in San Francisco, change at quarterback, no Metcalf, Seattle, and Rams with lingering injuries for Stafford? It's hard for me, man. It's hard for me for the Arizona Cardinals. I would be shocked if Arizona would be able to pull it off because I am not high on Kyler Murray, man. Like, you could very literally put together a 10-plus minute compilation of Kyler Murray missing Marvin Harrison Jr. last year in 2024. And not just bad throws. Like, I'm literally talking Kyler Murray dropping back and missing, like not even looking in the direction of Marvin Harrison Jr. being wide open downfield. I really think it's a quarterback issue over in Arizona. I really do. I think that this is the final year for Kyler Murray. As far as the NFC West, I'm probably going to give the nod to LA because I love their defense. It's a very slept-on defensive unit. They're very young and they're very well coached. And then adding Adams is interesting as well. And then say for example that Matthew Stafford were to miss a couple of games, I think he'll be fine. He was just being precautionary this season, especially during the offseason. Yeah, I have a feeling that team is going to walk away with the NFC West. But again, I reserve the right to change my mind. And so I reserve the right to change my mind. That's why the good Lord makes us play football games, ladies and gentlemen, so we can figure out what these takes, whether or not these takes have traction. And never let anybody tell you that you don't reserve the right to change your mind based off of what you see out on the field. Kyler heard you say that and invited you to the Call of Duty lobby, Dan. You were about to get cooked. He probably would snipe me in video games. You know what I mean? Murray looks like a toddler running around with your car keys. He does. And so I think that's probably one of the best things we could do. We have bring back J Poe for a year, Josh Griffin. Here's the deal, man. I mean, really outside of nostalgia, I really don't think that he would be much of a safer option than Cole Bishop and or Damar Hamlin at this point during his career. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. If Buffalo is desperate, maybe they end up bringing him back somewhere like midway through the season, right? Sort of the Micah Hyde treatment from last year, but time will tell. Time will tell. All right, folks. Shorter episode today. Have no fear. Tomorrow we will be back at the regularly scheduled programming where I go for about an hour to an hour and a half. I'm just expecting a call from the DMV. From the DMV. So a piece of advice. If you ever end up trading in your old car for a new car, for the love of God, make sure you turn in your old license plate. Because let me tell you what I've been going through, my friends. It's been a headache, all right? So I need to deal with that. And then afterwards, you will see me on 4th and Forever a tad later. And I love each and every single one of you. And so I hope you're doing well. And we'll see you on 4th and Forever here in just a couple of hours. Go Bills. And thank you again for tuning in. Peace.